Couple thoughts. And we are live in living color. Let's see. Make sure that, because that could be just me saying that. Yes, we are live in living color. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Mike stream. I am your host, Mike A. Sims. Okay, some few things to get through today. The Mike stream, I'm not recording a podcast this time. I think I only had like 2 people who watched it. So for both of you who, I don't know how you even found it because it was restricted on my site, but hey, I guess privacy in is in social media. Who cares? Yeah, so first things first, let's get down to business. Some things I wanted to talk about. So I'm trying to do with the mic stream is I want to do it's a live stream through YouTube, where I just discuss, go over some news, the usual streamer situation. And you can chat when I eventually have more than one person. The one person left. More than one person. We can chat, chop it up, talk, all that good stuff. So very quickly, the first thing I want to touch on actually is that the thing I keep hitting this microphone wire. Hold on. The thing that got me into streaming and podcasting actually just announced its end this past week, or well, it's only Wednesday as I record this, or as I'm streaming this. So this Wednesday, today's Wednesday. You know what? G4TV announced it's shutting down. Again, effective immediately, which is crazy. G4TV, for those who don't know, was a gaming channel that was an actual channel back in the day, and it had things such as Arena, Attack of the Show, and before there was Twitch and every other platform that they have for streaming video games, even YouTube Live, whatever your pick your poison. Before that was a thing, there was G4TV, and it was a bunch of pop culture or underground nerds. Nerds immediately. I promised myself I was going to say nerds. I was like, don't call them nerds, because they, people who liked what is now. I mean, it's crazy to consider this stuff as now pop culture, but back then it was like a core group of people who liked it. It's very crazy to think of now, but back then it was like the same 3 or 4 people, type of people, I should say. But they liked things like video games and computer games, RPGs. Gaming was very niche still before the Call of Duty explosion and the FPS shooters of explosion of like the 2000s that really put video games into mainstream consciousness, that persists literally to this day. But anyway, so G4TV was like one of the precursors to all of that. It was one of the earliest. Actually, was I want to say it was the place for video gamers that would get news and shows based around video games and all that good stuff. And they recently announced that they were shutting down again. Comcast, who owns the company, said it was because funds were low. And it was crazy to think because they'd hired some new staff, some older staff, some classic staff. There were people who had moved on. I think like Olivia Munn, and then the people who had come back. Everyone's name escapes me right now. There was new people like Xavier Woods, the wrestler from WWE. Hold on, you can see him right here. I haven't bought him. I bought this the day before they announced that G4TV was no longer going to be a thing. And I have a theory about things that I like being dismantled once I show my admiration for them. So I apologize, Xavier Woods, if I cost you one of your many jobs. You had Kassem, you had Frosk, who was a streamer. I know there was some controversy with her because with them because they when they spoke about sexism in gaming and were given a about 4-minute segment to vent some frustrations, and some people are tying that to the demise of the channel. I know they had Gina Darling, who was a part of the network as well, the channel, and they had a partnership with WWE where they would produce Arena. I remember when they did the Arena reveal, which is where popular Twitch streamers would partner up with WWE superstars, aka wrestlers, and they would, do a series of challenges, games, whatever, and whoever lost would have to read a humiliating thing, and they'd win the beef award. It was a whole thing. It was based on how it used to be before, and they had Attack of the Show where they would go over things of pop culture plus gaming and everything. And it seemed like, honestly, to me, G4 was never really going to make it because streaming was so much more of it was more of an accessible option. You have like, I can't think of any streamers right now, but you guys know who all the popular streamers are. They showed up in Free Guy, You have people like that who have these massive followings, and a channel just seems it's too corporate, unfortunately. Even though, yes, I understand Twitch is a corporation also, but G4, which I loved, I was a staunch supporter of G4. I stream all the live streams and everything. Up until that's how I found out that it was shut down effective immediately, because I was in the process of watching it when the news came through, and I was like, oh, okay, well, that's weird. So I was an avid, supporter of it, but I was also a throwback to the earlier G4, when it was the actual network, so on TV. So, I mean, I might have been who they were targeting to, but and you always forget these things. Like, unfortunately, when creatives or when companies or when anybody launches something based off, even you saw with Morbius, based off of a small groundswell of support. Like, sustained support is different than a pop. That's the reason why it's called a pop, because it's sudden, it's loud, it's quick, and then it's gone. So like, to have a sustained pop of interest in something is when you should look into it. Now I know sometimes you can be surprised. It's like, oh wow, who would have expected that? I don't know, a slight interest in a song called I can't remember Lil Nas X's first song, but would make him into a megastar, and he's shown sustainability. G4, on the other hand, the announcement was met with excitement, and then the announcement of the shows and the lineup was met with more excitement, and then the show started, and it was like, well, is anybody even watching this? And even I would look at the streams, and I would look at who's on, and you have enough, but I was like, this is not like a Twitch streamer or even like a Netflix special where Netflix is footing the bill for its own content on its own network, or Disney Plus. This is G4 paying to produce full-on shows to put them on YouTube and whatever else, XPlay or whatever. And how do you get revenue from that? And unfortunately, at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. So I'm sad to see G4 go. Not surprised that it did. So that's unfortunately that. Yeah, I mean, everybody who was a part of that channel, based on, reports that had come out, you can Google those yourself. I need to start citing sources because I don't like to just say it. But apparently there was word that the staff of Arena, which was co-produced with WWE, had quit, leading up to it because they saw the writing on the wall. I don't know how true that is. I only deal with what I, see. I've seen, some of the hosts get a little hostile with people, attacking them, or other hosts being defensive for being lambasted about things being their fault. I just want to say that when things like this happen, it's very quick for people to say, oh well, they deserved it, or this is the reason why. There's always a need to blame something first before understanding it, and when you find yourself blaming before you understand, then you're usually lost, or you can be completely wrong. Now, whatever the actual reason is can't be debated when the company says it's because it's not making money. You can say, well, it wasn't making money because there was no viewers. None of this means anything. We don't know what they even quantify as making money. Because back in the day, a sitcom would be canceled if they had 2.2 million viewers. Now that's a hit. Back when TV was the main source. I remember, streaming is only whether it's Netflix, Hulu, whatever, it's like 30% of the population stream. So, and that's going to just increase. So these numbers of TV shows and sitcoms is going to go even further down. But at the time, if Friends was doing 0.5 million viewers, that show would have been canceled. There would be no Friends reunion. So we don't know what companies quantify as success. We don't know, because to me, I have 121 subscribers on YouTube, and I'm like, hey, I made it. I'm like, oh, let me quit my jobs now and just do this full time. Unrealistic, but yeah. So we don't know what they considered it. So I I'd seen a couple things and, the discourse and people going back and forth. And I'm just like, listen, they're human beings at the end of the day. They're going to have emotions. They're going to be upset. Like, losing anything sucks. You can listen to all the motivational speeches you can. You can post all the positive, when one door closes, another one opens, all that crap. But at the end of the day, if I lose my job, even if I hated it, I'm going to be upset. So, hope you guys land on your feet. Loved you, G4. Till I see you again. I'm sure it'll happen again soon. I'm sure somebody will come across that IP down the line and be like, hey, we haven't done it in a while. We haven't launched a gaming channel. And Comcast, I believe the company is Comcast, will absolutely, will be like, hey, you know what? Let's try G4 again. And they'll pop it up again. I just want to make sure I have that correct. That it is. This is how I do my research. This, ladies and gentlemen, is how you do research in a live stream. Who owns? Why would I be looking up a murderer? Goodness gracious. I put in who owns and it was like who killed. Oh yeah, it's Comcast. I want to make sure. Okay. Yeah, so rest in peace, G4. I will say it's fitting that the last person on the WWE arena to be one of the participants was Big E, who is Xavier Woods' stablemate in the New Day alongside Kofi Kingston, and had just had his neck broken, I want to say back in February, and was starting to look a little bit better. So if Big E is the last participant on arena, I'm good with that. I still have yet to watch that episode though, because I was a little bit like, I've fallen behind on my up, down, down stuff, which is Xavier Woods' channel. He used to work for G4. He's a wrestler, whatever. But I was glad to see that. Speaking of wrestlers and wrestling, Black Adam is coming out October 21st. I think that's this weekend. This Friday, actually. I'm excited to see it. I'm stoked. I will say this. I was not excited to see Black Adam initially. Just because, it is The Rock, and he is very pleased with himself a lot of the time for a good reason. He's The Rock. If I was The Rock, I'm not The Rock, and I'm still pleased with myself a lot of the time. I'll be like, you know what, Mike? Good job. Unprompted, unmerited too. But hey, listen, The Rock is in it. That's not the selling point for me, though. The selling point for me is that I noticed, and I know people are going to they're going to groan about this, but the thing that was a selling point to me was that I actually like that they're attempting to copy the visual style of the Snyderverse. The slow motion, the lush visuals, like the very deep. And I know people hate CGI battles and fights, but this is a superhero movie, guys. This is what we sign up for. It's like if I see a Seth Rogen movie in the 2000s, and I'm like, why are they cursing so much and using so much marijuana? I know exactly what I signed up for. People are consistently shocked, surprised, or sometimes even outright angered by getting exactly what it is that they're expecting. And I'm not going to Black Adam to not see The Rock look like the most immovable object in the world. We saw him in Jumanji. The Rock had zero weaknesses. We saw The Rock in the Fast and the Furious franchise. The Rock had zero weaknesses. We saw The Rock in Hobbs and Shaw, and I'm pretty sure he was going up against an android superhuman, and him and Jason Statham both showed that they are either immortal or gods. So him playing a god, The Rock, pronouns pal, shouldn't really shock us. So I'm going to enjoy The Rock dropping one-liners, attempting to be his version of a bad guy, because in the comics, Black Adam is a villain, actually. In the comics, Black Adam is the main nemesis of Shazam. They're actually tied together more intricately in the comics than it seems like they're going to be on the big screen. I don't really know yet because I haven't seen the movie, but I believe Shazam was the original holder of the power. Black Adam was the original holder of Shazam's power. He was corrupted, and then the Wizard, I believe, took it back. I believe. I'm sure there's something that I'm missing in there. If there's anybody who's a fan of Shazam, which is weird, or let's say Captain Marvel. If you're a fan of Captain Marvel, because remember, Captain Marvel was Shazam's original name. The problem was, even though DC actually was Charlton Comics, I believe, it was a different company that DC eventually bought, but they never trademarked the name Captain Marvel. So they had to splash Shazam on the front of all their comics. So they just changed Captain Marvel's name to Shazam. Captain Marvel, aka Shazam, was named Captain Marvel before Carol Danvers, even before Marvel. Anyway, that has nothing to do with anything. So Black Adam Looks like it's a standalone movie where The Rock is going to attempt to be his version of a villain, which includes him beating up the Justice Society. And shout out to Pierce Brosnan, looking like I don't. He looks like he was he just decided I'm here again. I love those statements by actors or musicians or anybody really of like, I know nobody likes to be considered, a comeback or whatever it is, but this could be Pierce Brosnan's comeback. My man, he looks so dope as Dr. Fate. And you could have put a gun to my head, which first of all, I'd be like, why you put a gun to my head? Just ask me a question. It's not that dire. You could have put a gun to my head and be like, who do you think should be Dr. Fate? First of all, I'm like, who's Dr. Fate? Because he's not that popular of a comic book character. Do you mean Dr. Strange? This is a very intense situation, so I don't know what to say. Dr. Fate, Dr. Fate. Who do you think should be Dr. Fate in DC? I'm like, I would, even right now, I know it's Pierce Brosnan, and I'm still not saying Pierce Brosnan's name. This doesn't make any sense. But yeah, I would have never thought Pierce Brosnan, but that is some bang up casting, dynamite casting. I'm apparently a 1950s bartender. Dynamite casting, man. I say, that's bang up, real thumb breakers out there, real good ones. But it's perfect. It's perfect casting. Aldous Hodge as Hawkman. Aldous Hodge looks so dope as Hawkman. Nicholas Centenia, as Adam Smasher. I watched PS. No, okay. I always want to say PS I love the boys, but it's PS I love you, or to all the boys I've loved before. PS I love you was with Hilary Swank and I think Gerard Butler. To all the boys I loved had Nicholas Centenia, and I hope I'm saying his name correctly. Whoops. And I can't remember the young lady's name, but he was in that. He was very cool in that, and excited to see him. Like, the casting is phenomenal, and people, I know. Listen, let's temper our expectations. This is The Rock we're talking about. And this is about building the team, or building this world, or rebuilding the DCEU. I don't even know what it's about anymore. So let's temper our expectations about what the villain's going to be like, because that whatever villain they have is not. Black Adam is the villain. He's not going to be the villain in this movie, but he is the villain. He's one of the villains. So they're not going to bring somebody who's going to overshadow who's going to eventually be this this massive threat. So Black Adam, sorry, I had a quick thought about how The Rock thinks. So The Rock is so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and I'm going to be the biggest, the baddest, the most awesome guy that you've ever seen. And then I'm going to have a couple people who are also kind of strong, but not as strong. You hear me? Not as strong. And then they're going to fight with me. But I'm just going to also beat them up every now and then so they know that The Rock is who's in charge. I know he doesn't call himself The Rock. Relax. It's just a thing that I'm doing. You just know The Rock is just like... They're like, okay, but when do you start losing the fight? And The Rock is just like, never. Black Adam doesn't lose the fight. He just doesn't lose the fight. He wins all the fights. They're like, okay, but we have to have some sort of adversity, or people might turn on the character. Fine. Somebody punches me once, and then they kill somebody that I love that's weaker than me. That I avenge them though. But I'm excited, and I'm chiefly excited about the fact that The Rock himself, Dwayne Johnson. Can I just call? You know what? That The Rock himself. I was about to go on an entire road. I'm live streaming and becoming more of a, whatever it is, a guy who talks to things that record him more. I like to respect people's everything, because it's not that hard to just respect the fact that somebody would like to be referred to a certain way. Having said that, I don't know if The Rock cares that he's called The Rock. I know he sees it as a character, and he's very much he very much embraces he has Young Rock on television, which is about him becoming the character of The Rock in wrestling. But I don't know how much he identifies himself. Whatever. The point is, The Rock let it slip on the red carpet through a series of questioning that, one of the worst kept secrets in recent cinema was true, that Henry Cavill is, I need to learn how to say these people's names, and I will. Henry Cavill is going to be making a cameo appearance alongside Amanda Waller, but we knew Amanda Waller was going to be in it because Viola Davis is magic. Viola Davis is fantastic in everything. Viola Davis carried How to Get Away with Murder. We're off the rails right now. It's rant time. Viola Davis carried How to Get Away with Murder, a show that became increasingly ridiculous. But, like there was times in How to Get Away with Murder where I was like, this show doesn't make any sense. And Viola Davis would come on screen like the force of nature she is, and I would just be like, this show makes perfect sense. That of course, of course, that's what happened. You know, Viola, my bad. I'm sorry, Viola. I was bugging earlier. When I said it didn't make any sense, I don't think I'd eaten earlier, so I just said it to say it. But yeah, so she's Amanda Waller in it. So Henry Cavill is going to be back as Superman. Now, I didn't like Man of Steel when I first saw it. I didn't like when I first saw it. I did like all the stuff on Krypton, and being a staunch Superman. Look, I'm so desperate for validation. I will show you guys things. When I look, see, Superman. It's my coaster. So desperate for validation. I got to show you guys whenever I mention something. Yeah, but I'm like Man of Steel was okay. Man of Steel, the Krypton scenes were phenomenal, where they showed Jor-El trying to save the planet and battling against Zod and sending Superman to Earth and everything. The birthing matrix was a little different. I liked all of that because they aren't like Kryptonians are an alien society. They are a different society. So why would their customs, just because they're humanoid in appearance, doesn't mean that they'd act like us. So I like that they kind of veered away from that. Didn't like, spoiler alert for a movie from 2013. Didn't like that he killed General Zod. But since then, I've kind of backtracked, only because I still don't think Superman or Batman should ever kill. Superman because he knows he can destroy this planet with, one bad day. Batman because he had to watch his entire life be killed in front of him. I don't think either one of them should ever actually kill. Having said that, seeing characters change with the times has always been a cop out for like why characters start to act out of turn. They tried it with the Muppets when they had them essentially do like a 30 Rock show within a show type of deal that didn't work out the way they thought. It was I liked it because I like 30 Rock, but then I realized I didn't care for the Muppets. I just wanted to see another version of 30 Rock. So when that stuff happens, you usually end up splitting an audience. Like some people are like, well, Superman should kill because what was he gonna do? And they don't really care about comics, so it's like whatever, it's no big deal. Those who care about comics are like, oh my gosh, this is an affront to Superman and everything he stands for. This is crazy. That divisiveness over it, and I was in the camp that believes he shouldn't have killed. Led to Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice. That name was so silly. I can't even say it. Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice. The fact that DC named a comic book movie like it was a trial is inspired lunacy. Like that's inspired madness. No one's ever done. Could you imagine if it was Iron Man v Captain America Civil War? That is, first of all, a mouthful. Secondly, that is ridiculous. That is ridiculous in the greatest way possible. That's amazing. Anyway, so it gave us that absurd title, which, and I hate to be that guy again, but I am that guy. So do I hate myself? No. So I like being that guy. If you watch the revised version, why am I laughing? If you watch the director's cut version of Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice, I have to look at the camera and strain to not sound absurd. It's a good movie. It's actually a really good Batman movie. Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice is a good Batman movie. It's as he moves through it, detecting Clark, his relationship with Alfred, interaction with Wonder Woman. Like, it's great. I mean, yeah, it's great. It's great stuff. It really is really good. Just discovering the White Russian, all that kind of stuff, whatever it's called. It's awesome. Justice League was trash. The original one, Joss Whedon's. I didn't like it when it came out at all. It just was nothing to it. There's nothing to it. Justice League, this Zack Snyder's Justice League, fantastic. Granted, I will still say that the return of Superman and the death of Superman was unearned through that whole thing, but it's so rote at this point that it's kind of like, if you do it, whatever. We can just move on with our stories. Like Superman, his Death of Superman comic was from the 90s, so that was 30 years ago. To not use it in a storyline since would be kind of like, it doesn't. It's like never using the Joker in a Batman storyline. It's like one of their key moments. Like Superman's death really kind of made the character stay relevant. So unfortunately, when you have Superman, you have to take him off the table. So they did. But Man of Steel 2, which was also, I believe, announced, let's see if it was officially, I feel like it was something that was what The Rock had been getting. The Rock seems to me, is really spearheading this whole, okay, I can't have Marvel because it's already in control by somebody, so I'll have DC and no one's going to stop him because he's The Rock. And so I feel like he's spearheading this whole movement to rebuild, and he has Jason Momoa as Aquaman, his bro. Let me see. So no, it hasn't been announced yet, so I just assumed that. But yeah, so anyway, but we know that Superman is back. So I feel like the Rock is trying to not be like Marvel, but trying to be a part of that kind of another $1 billion franchise, essentially, which is cool. It's cool. I'm all for that. And I have faith that he'll do it right. Especially since Henry Cavill has returned. And speaking of returns, this past Friday, Bray Wyatt fully returned to the WWE. Now, Bray Wyatt had been released around the time or towards the end of the pandemic. Then everything came out from behind the scenes, like creative frustrations and whatever else have you. And Vince just didn't want to deal with him. Now, seeing how Bray Wyatt was one of the most creative wrestlers, whether you love or hate the spooky shtick, or you like the Eater of Worlds or the Fiend, or the fact that he was an unkillable monster as the Fiend, or was killed by Randy Orton and came back to life while being set on fire, you cannot deny that the man does not try to make things interesting. Like, there's two different ways. There's Chris Jericho, who tries to do something on TV every time he gets a chance to make you entertained, to entertain you. And then there's Bray Wyatt, who builds up to things to put on TV so you're entranced, but they're both entertaining. So him coming back, Bray Wyatt coming back and essentially just giving a heartfelt speech or a promo, whatever you want to call it, about how he had been going through ups and downs and he lost his confidence as the man, I believe was the first step in him, or that was the only step in him being Bray Wyatt. And from then on, he will just go out to be whatever his character is going to be. Like, he had to speak from the heart for a moment. He had to be real, as they say. And so he came out and he was real. He spoke about the passing of Brody Lee and a childhood friend, and him getting fired and what he was trying to figure out for himself. Remember, he also had a child recently. I think one, I don't know. But he recently had a child, and being the father of a young child, I know from experience that you question things a lot, and your choices and how they're going to affect them, because everything you do is now about them. It's no longer about you. So I can understand Bray feeling the pressure of that. In his return, I was very excited about it. Still am, and it's in its infant stages. So I'm excited to see where that goes. And someone like Bray Wyatt deserves to have the reins off now that Vince McMahon is retired from WWE. Resigned, whatever you want to call it, and Triple H is in charge, and Triple H cultivates but also helps to mold wants and creativity. It's cool to see that Bray's given a second chance to show exactly how much he could contribute to wrestling as a whole. So I'm excited to see where this goes. Staying with wrestling, I just want to give a quick mention, because I got to sign off, to Hangman Page, who had I'm recording this on Wednesday, October 19th, 2022. Last night, October 18th, 2022, was a special edition Tuesday night title night of AEW. Jon Moxley, the current AEW champion, had a match against Hangman Page. Hangman Page, in the course of the match, landed awkwardly on his neck. Everyone feared for the worst. I didn't know if it was real or not, honestly, because wrestling storylines, they thread the needle. They toe the line, I guess you could say, a lot of times, so you never really know. Then it came out that it was true. It was a little bit in disarray. They got it back on track. Thankfully, he just suffered a concussion. And I say thankfully, even though concussion is terrible, because everybody feared for the worst, including myself when I saw it. I was like, okay, this might be bad. It might be worse than we think. Thankfully, he seems to be okay. As okay as having a concussion can be. I'm a firm believer he should take all the time he needs. If he even wants to take time after that to spend time with his family because it was a close call and he just needs to get his mental, state in order. I know that's not my call at all, but as a fan, if Tony Khan is wondering whether or not, we'll appreciate or we'll understand Hangman sitting out a couple rounds, more than fine. More than absolutely fine. I wanted to go longer with this one, but I think that's a good place to stop. Giving well wishes to Hangman Page. This has been the Mike Stream. Of course, don't forget to follow me at Mike A. Sims. At Mike A. Sims on pretty much all socials, TikTok and Instagram specifically. At the Epic Mike V, Mike MIC, at the Epic Mike MIC V, just the letter V, on Twitter. But yeah, just stick to Instagram and TikTok for the most part, and here on YouTube. Like, share, subscribe if you like this. I've been Mike Sims. We'll do more chatting it up, chopping it up, whatever you want to call it. I think I'm just talking. It's just a live stream, because why not? We're just chatting. I've been Mike A. Sims, a.k.a. the Nefarious Mike A. Sims. You have been fantastic, and I will see you on the flip side of humanity. Signed off before I could even